Welcome to episode 5. Time to look alive, as they say at Portillo's. Episode 5 of Jed Talks. I'm your host, Jed Davis, the state rep of the 75th District, and I would suggest coffee up. Legendary White Sox player Ron Kittle says coffee up all the time on social media, and what an applicable statement for today's episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, grab a cup of coffee because you'll need it for today. If you've been watching the media or my social media this week, you've noticed I'm in a bit of a tug-of-war with the Department of Children and Family Services. So we're going to unpack all of that today. And wow, is it eye-opening. A couple disclaimers before we get started. One, I'm going to be looking at my computer more than I usually do. I don't want to miss anything. Two, my wife and I, we're licensed foster parents. And I, by no means, we have been for about a decade and have fostered numerous placements through those years. A lot of them infants straight from the hospital, and wow, the last placement, now I'm north of 45 now, and it was on the heels of an election, so I'm emotionally drained, and now I'm trying to take care of a newborn at 2 a.m., and it is not what it once was when I was in my 30s. But I am not advocating by no means that we shouldn't be removing children from homes. So I just want to get that out there, so that is not the argument that you'll hear ever come out of my mouth, because there are a lot of instances in this state where those kids, and I've seen it firsthand, they need to be removed from that harmful situation. And God bless these foster homes. If you have ever thought about becoming a foster parent, a little commercial here, give me a shout. My cell phone, 630-724-7600. We need foster homes in the state of Illinois. So if you've ever felt that tug at your heart, like, I wonder, what would it be like? I would love to talk to you. My wife would love to talk to your wife, to you as the woman of the home. My kids would love to talk to your kids, because I know we wrestled with, are we going to ruin our kids through this? Like, what does it even mean? So you we are an open book. So if you want to know anything, we'll share our heart and our experiences with you. Just give me a shout. We need homes. So I would encourage you to at least explore, at least make the call. There's no harm in making the call. Foster care is not for the faint of heart, but man, there is nothing more rewarding than my family has done, probably in the 25 years of marriage that my wife and I just celebrated a few days ago. So happy anniversary, Melissa Davis. But back to here of what we're going to be talking about today. So a family not too far from my district, just a little bit to the northwest, found themselves with a knock at their door. And you open up the door. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. I was going to say Smith. Their last name's not Smith. I'm just using that as a generality here. So, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm an intern with the Department of Children and Family Services, and I'm here to investigate you. So, whoa, not what you want at your door, right? So, all I'm arguing, let's not even worry about whether or not the kids should have been removed at the moment. We're just going to set that aside. What I think everyone can agree on is that anytime you hear at your door, and it's DCFS here to investigate you, you want to make sure that the lead primary investigator has the relevant experience, that they have the certification to conduct the investigation, right? You hire a plumber, you hire an electrician, an HVAC specialist. When they come to your door to install or fix whatever, you don't want this to be the first time they've ever put in an air conditioning unit or the first time they've ever fixed a leaky faucet. Like, you want them to have relevant experience. The union has an apprenticeship program for the exact reason, so that these people can go through years of experience to then become the expert in the field. What the department is telling you is that no, they just need a CWEL and they're good to go. Well, what is a CWEL? It's a Child Welfare Employee License, CWEL, another lovely acronym here in Illinois. So they're saying if the intern holds a CWEL, they have the experience, they're good to go. They can have the authority. Again, these roles, they're sacred roles. They have the authority to come to your home and remove your biological kids and send them off to somewhere you're not even sure where. I think we can all agree that whoever is making those decisions when they're at your doorstep, you want them to have the experience. No? Right? That's a hard yes. That's a yes for everyone listening here. To get your CWEL, what do you need? If DCFS is telling me all you need is your seawell, man, I better see experience under the requirements for it. Well, guess what? It's not there. You need zero experience to get a seawell. You need to be 18. You need a bachelor's degree. You need to pass like medical background checks and medical checks, and then background checks, two separate things, but like all that jazz. And then you take an exam, you get a 70% or higher, and wham, you're get your seawell license. Awesome. So, according to the department, you can now go investigate families and make the determination whether or not to remove kids. I'm saying that's not what Illinois law says, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and that's the disagreement I'm having with the department. I kind of raised my hand back in early May and said, hey, hi, department. I'm Jed Davis, a rep. I have this case here where an intern, and in my belief, they don't have the certification, they don't have the experience that they should have to be the lead investigator. You might want to look back into this. They wrote me back, no. Nothing to see here. Nothing to worry about, Mr. Jed Davis. The seawell is the certification. We're good to go. So here's what the department wants you to believe. So in 2017, they changed the professional experience, the relevant experience requirements from 4 years. You used to need 4 years. They made it 2. So you went from 4 years in a bachelor's degree to 2 years in a bachelor's degree, unless today, what the department is telling me and have been telling me for weeks now is, no, you just need your seawell. Your seawell is the certification. It is the experience. Again, how much experience do you need to get your seawell? 0. So the department is saying, even though it used to be 4, we changed it to 2, but hey, if you're an intern, forget the experience. If you hold your seawell, go investigate families and make the determination of whether or not to remove their kids. That is asinine, and I can't even believe that they're making that argument. Crazy town is where we live. It's like saying, hey, if you have your driver's license, right? Who doesn't have a driver's license listening? If you have it, jump into a semi and head down the road. You're qualified. You have the experience to drive a semi. No, you don't. I'm an engineer. I have a civil engineering degree. When I graduated college, I had to take an exam to become an EI. Guess what an EI stands for? Engineer intern. I love how we keep coming back to intern. I had to take an exam and pass, and I became an EI. So I didn't need any experience, no experience to become an EI. Just like when you hold a bachelor's degree and you go to work for the department, you can take an exam and hold your seawell license. You don't need any experience. Does that mean now me as an EI, as an engineering intern, you want me running around stamping plans and designing things that you use every day of your life? The roads, the water, the sewers, the structural requirements for bridges and buildings. Do you want me with no experience other than a bachelor's degree being the one to say, yes, this thing is structurally sound, let's drive our family across it and move on with life? I'm telling you, no, you do not. A law says I need 4 years of experience before I can become a professional engineer, and now I have the ability to stamp plans and sign off on them. Thank the Lord that we have, again, an apprenticeship program, in essence, just like in the medical field. Surgeons just don't graduate and start taking scalpels to bodies as the lead surgeon. There are residency requirements. So for the department to come back, even though all these other professions have very similar paths, whether you're an electrician, an engineer, a doctor, they all have essentially the same kind of requirements. But if I go to the Department of Children and Family Services and hold a bachelor's degree and pass an exam, forget the experience. I just need the seawell. I'm good to go. The seawell is the certification, Jed. Nothing to see here. Right? That's what they want you to believe. But here's what Illinois law says. So 20 ILS 505/5C talks about the seawell license and the requirements that I just noted under a different section of statute. 225 ILCS 420/3, it talks about certification. So it's talking about two different things in two different portions of the law. If they were the same thing, why are we having them in two different areas of the Illinois state statute? And under the certification, it talks about professional experience, right? Okay, so for the seawell, I don't need any experience. So if licensure and certification are in two separate laws and two separate sections. Because why? Because they're two separate things. But here is really what I want to drive home. Where's this quote? If Seawell. So let's kind of dig in here. So certification, right? And then also you jump down to the Department of Central Management Services, which hold all the job titles for the state of Illinois. And when they talk about child protection specialists, people who are qualified, who are certified to conduct investigations and have the authority to remove your child, it talks about the 2 years of experience that they went in 2017 and changed from 4 to 2. So the job description talks about 2. So you go to the statute. Okay, here. I'm going to bring this back home because I just kind of jumped all over in the last 30 seconds here. You go to the Seawell statute. You need 0 experience to get your Seawell. In a different part of Illinois statute, it talks about certification, and it talks about professional experience. Seawell, you need 0 experience. But here it's talking about being certified. You need experience. Then you go to the job description, and it gets even more specific. You need 2 years of experience. So if the Seawell was the same as certification, right? They got the Seawell, Jed. That intern had their Seawell. They're good to go. Forget about the experience. But if the Seawell was the same as certification, CMS wouldn't require all this extra experience. It would just say must have a Seawell. But it doesn't, right? Why? If the Seawell is all you need, then why doesn't in the job description just say you need to hold your Seawell license? Why does it talk about experience, right? Again, if you want, here's what the department wants you to believe. Let's hold hands with them and just kind of skip into imaginary land for a moment. And we're walking down together, hand in hand. They're telling me, okay, Jed, yes, Illinois law says, or Illinois statute talks about professional experience. To the job description to be a child protection specialist, the people that have the authority to investigate families as the lead and primary investigator, right? Talks about 2 years of experience. But let's just ignore that. It's not applicable right now. That's older practices, right? Come into 2025 with us, Jed. And the Seawell, if they pass that exam, they're good to go. So, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, any intern can come to your door from a random call from someone in the state of Illinois or elsewhere. They can come to your door with 0 experience and have the authority to remove your child. I think conversation's over, but let's just keep going. There are a couple documents that I want to talk about. There's a 2007 OIG annual report. So the department's Office of Inspector General. And it's referencing all these cases, kind of reviewing, a year in review. And there's one case, horrific, a child died. And at the end of the closing of this little write-up they did on this case, it says the assigned investigator. So here's an investigator that's been assigned to this case. What can we presume? What do we know right out of the gate? That investigator holds a Seawell. Right? No investigator in Illinois is going to be investigating unless they have a Seawell. So the assigned investigator was not certified as a child protection specialist until 2 months after she began working the case. What? I'm scratching my head. Not a lot of hair up there, but I'm scratching my head. If the Seawell is the certification, why does your own document say that the assigned investigator was not certified? I thought you've been telling me for weeks that the Seawell is the certification. So I don't understand. And then you go to later of their documents, their own internal docs of intern protocols, and it talks about eventually recommending these interns to be promoted to a certified child protection specialist. So again, this intern holds the Seawell, so then why are we promoting them to anything that's certified? I thought the Seawell was the certification. This is the insanity that we have gone down here with the department, and I thought that we would kind of find common ground way earlier, but they are doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on this issue. And I'm not out here on some Jed Davis built branch, right? I didn't do this on a whim. I really dug in and went through this. And again, I've been working with the department for almost 80 plus days, probably 90 plus days since early May. So I have had ample opportunity for us to come to agreement on this, and we just weren't getting there. So I wanted to bring it to the people. But even before then, I want to make sure my ducks are in a row. So here's one great example. I've been talking to various attorneys. One attorney is in a prominent law firm downtown Chicago. So this is not Saul Goodman, right? This is, oh man, what's that firm on that show Howard works for? Whatever. This is that firm, right? This is like a prominent law firm in downtown Chicago. One of the attorneys there, one of the top 40 under 40 for the city. So legit. And what's valuable to an attorney? Time. Time is incredibly valuable because they're billing it and they're making revenue. So this individual has taken 5 days, an entire week plus more. But at the onset, he literally locked himself into a conference room for 5 days. So he just flushed an entire week of billable time down the drain to explore this because of the potential that rests on the other side. He wouldn't be wasting that just for the fun of it, right? He's a busy man. So here, he came out of that reviewing statutes, cases, laws, everything imaginable that it was accessible to him, came out and said, Jed, you're right. You've got it. The law is on your side. The department's wrong. And I'm not saying he's gospel and a courtroom will ultimately determine this, but I am not walking on some tightrope built by Jed Davis. I have had attorneys that I've spoken to multiple times who have spent numerous, not just a 15-minute phone call with me. I'm talking hours and hours and hours of pouring through all the documents from Illinois, and they're saying, Jed, you're right. DCFS is in trouble. Which is maybe why they're doubling and tripling down. But we need to I just wish we could press pause. I have a rule in life, and that is at the end of every election, I give all my enemies back. And that is a real loose term. I mean, no one's real. I don't have enemies, but political life, and man, it can get very contentious on a lot of things in both primaries and general elections. Well, hey, at the end of the general, we have somebody that won. At the end of the primary, somebody won. Whoever it is, I'm giving all of that contention. I'm giving all my enemies back, man, because I'm not holding on to this stuff. And I wish I could get there with the department. I am not here to be an adversary from now until eternity. I just want to be like, man, here's what I'm reading. I don't understand it. They want to have conversations with me, but they just want me. They want to bring like an entire team of resources and me. And I'm just saying, I've got other people that are experts on this matter that I would love to invite into the conversation, and they're telling me no, they're not allowed. So this is just the insanity that I'm going back and forth with them because I'm not prolonging conversations that are going to create months and months and months and months and months of back and forth because you're going to give me info. I'm going to take that info back to these other people who are going to give me info. And then it's just this big game of telephone. Let's just get around the table and sort this out and reset the department. Again, I'm not suggesting that you vacate every case because there are cases where children should have been removed, but let's go back and reinvestigate them with the people with the relevant experience to actually do the work. So I'll ask the question again in closing. When you hear at your door, and it's the Department of Children and Family Services here to investigate Jed and Melissa Davis on who knows, some accusation that someone made. Right? There's systems for this. That individual at my doorstep had better have the experience to know what they're looking for. You don't get that from a bachelor's degree. And that's why the statute, when it references certification, we're not trading baseball cards here. We're dealing with families and children. We're dealing with lives. And I've seen kids get moved. And I mean, I've seen it firsthand as a foster parent. The emotional scars and trauma that is created are deep, and they will take decades to unravel. So before we just pull a kid, let's make sure they have the experience, which is why, again, the statute talking about certification references professional experience. And it also, when you get into the job description, it says you need 2 years. So like, these people knocking at my door have better have the experience because we're not trading baseball cards. We're dealing with human lives. I would encourage you to share this episode. Reach out to your elected official, your senator, your representative. Tell them to call me. Let's build the momentum and build the pressure because we need to restore public trust. If the department is willing to bend the stories on something to me is very significant, What else is happening? Have your state rep and senator give me a shout. And let's start pushing proper change here in Illinois. Oh, thank you for listening. God bless. Have an incredible week.